Hey there, Springford, and welcome to a very special recording that we're doing today from our friends over at the Futures Planning Center. Mrs. Sussman and Mrs. Lucinia are two college career advisors. Hello and welcome. How are you?
We're good. Good morning.
So usually you do this end of year presentation at one of our school board meetings, but we had some tricky weather this week, and rather than worrying about losing some really interesting and good content due to the outages we were having, we decided to film you today and send this out in weekly update. So before we get into the presentation, why don't you tell our families who maybe aren't familiar with the high school yet, what the Future Planning Center is, what college career advisors do, and what families and students can expect when they come in to see you.
Yeah, so I'll highlight a little bit about what we do here in this room, just because if you haven't had a child or a student go through our room, this space can sometimes seem a little intimidating, but we want to encourage all students and families to utilize this as a resource, because that's why we're here to help provide assistance. So we allow and have the unique opportunity to meet with students and families and help them map out whatever their future may look like. So our whole goal is to set our students up for success after they leave Springford. So whether that's helping map out college planning, if they're looking to go into the workforce, military, trade school, we're here to meet the students where they're at, and again, help them figure out what life looks like after high school. Our room operates on an appointment only basis. So we meet with families before school, after school, we meet with students during the school day, and again, assist in any of those planning needs. And I'll throw it to Mrs. Sussman to talk a little bit more specifically about what we do in the room.
Yeah, so piggybacking off of what Mrs. Lucinia said, we meet with families during the school year and also during the summer as well. So we also run a lot of really neat events throughout the year. We have senior parent presentations, we have sophomore, junior parent presentations, but that we also meet with the students in their classrooms all throughout the year. So that way they're being introduced to us once they come into the 10 to 12 center as well. So that way they have the opportunity to meet us, again, with what Maggie said, whenever they'd like to. We force the meetings a little bit, but it's something where it's a good meeting point for a lot of their students. So we get them interested in those careers really early in 10th grade. And then that's when we kind of move into the possibility of the college piece. Or if they're really not sure, we can get them started on where they'd like to go. We run two college and career fairs, one in the fall and one in the spring. We run a lot of application heavy workshops, especially towards the end of the summer and all throughout the year. And going off of those one-on-one appointments, we do a lot of that during the school day with the students, working with them during their study halls. They'll come in here to just work on their essays, their applications, just ask a quick question, or, hey, Mrs. Esmond, hey, Mrs. L, like, what can I get done this period? We run a lot of financial aid workshops for our parents, because whether it's their first time going through financial aid or their last time, everything changes every year, and there are some big changes coming up this year as well. And then, of course, it leads us towards the end of the year, where we have a big decision day for our students who graduate, typically on the football field, where they just come get to celebrate all their hard work that they've put in the last 12 plus years at that point, and parents get to celebrate them as well. So we do a lot of great things here in the FPC, and now we get to brag about what this class just did as well.
And I just want to say, I've talked to, I think, 4 friends who have incoming seniors.
Okay.
All of the families have meetings with you this summer. All 4 of the people I've talked to have said, I gotta go, I gotta get over to FPC, I gotta pick up my kid, we have a meeting. So you guys are meeting with families and students. You talked a lot about what you do with the students during the year, but families can make those appointments to come in to meet with you, so that they have the understanding right alongside their kids. The kids might not love it, because we're getting to that independent time, but mom and dad can be there, and whoever needs to come can make those appointments to meet with you guys.
Absolutely.
It was great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're keeping everyone busy this summer.
Yes, very much so.
Yes,
including ourselves.
Yeah. So let's get into the presentation that, again, we would have heard at Monday's board meeting. We're going to send out today. And also another quick plug for our high school families. Check the weekly, or not weekly update, check high school headlines when it comes out every Friday, because you have a whole section there at the bottom, FPC updates, where you'll have upcoming events, signups for students, signups for family, all of those events that you just mentioned. We share them out in the high school headlines, and you have the page on the website also that is so full of information. We'll go ahead and screen share it now, and you can see right here that we drop down to all of our different classes, freshman, junior, sophomore, senior, with what people need to expect and coming in and moving along. And you have a lot of really good information for families. So let's get into it. Let's hear more.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. This is an overview of the class of 2023, and we had some really great kids this year, and we have some great stories, and we're very happy to share what the plans are for all of our recent graduates. So what we'll be talking about today is everything that happened in the FPC this year, and what was the result for all of our students and what their plans are upon graduation. So a lot of great events happened again in the FPC. We very heavy-handed in the summer as we're leading into a lot of our Rising Senior meetings and all of our college workshops, which you can see down in the bottom right. We sent out our signups for our students for the class of 2024 already. And we've had a lot of good feedback, and we have a lot of students who are eager to get in here to talk to us about what even next year would look like for them. But in the fall, we have our college and career fair, and it was our largest fair with our college and career reps. We had over 120 at each of our sessions, both in September and March. And it was a really great turnout, not only by families, but a lot of our reps as well. And so it was great. We were even completely full. We had to almost turn people away at that point. We continued on with our senior parent nights all throughout the year, not only for our seniors, but for our juniors and our sophomores. And we're looking to continue that as well. In October, we continued with our financial aid night, and class of 24, be on the lookout for that. It will be sometime in November with the deadline of the FAFSA changing. We continued our partnership with Montgomery County Community College by having application days, course registration days, just an overview of what the college would look like for our students all throughout the year. And then we took a large group of students to Kutztown. So we do that, and we will continue to do that this year as well, where we bring about 25 students to Kutztown, where they get decisions right on the spot of whether or not they'd be admitted. And a few of those students are actually headed there in the fall as well. So it turned out to be a really great program. And then leading in towards the end of the year, we of course had Decision Day, which is always one of our favorite events that we offer in the Future Planning Center. And then it leads into kind of the end of the year activities with AP testing and Senior Scholarship Night, the Honors Banquet, and of course, graduation. So let's talk a little bit about Decision Day. Decision Day 2023, our theme this year was the final act. It was over at McNally Stadium, and we had well over 1,500 people this year. It was definitely one of our larger events this year, not only student attended, but also with family and friends. Another big part of something that the Future Planning Center offers and runs is testing. We run all the SATs, ACTs, PSATs, APs, and ASVABs. Our SATs we were almost at capacity every time for the 4 tests that we do offer throughout the year. And with the ACTs, we saw a little bit of a dip, and we're not 100% sure why. We think SAT is still reigning king, essentially, when we're talking about any type of testing. But with also the amount of schools that are test optional, we also don't see as many students sign up for as many standardized tests anymore. With the PSATs, it's almost the same amount of sophomores, but I will say juniors, we jumped up about 50 students. So we do see a little bit of a bump with our juniors who are wanting to take the PSATs. I'm curious to see what those numbers will look like as we move to digital testing in the fall. With APs, it is our largest amount of tests that have been given since I've been here. I've been here about 7 years now. And that's also the most amount of students who have tested in the last 7 years as well for APs. It is a busy time of year for us on a lot of different ends. Testing does take up a lot of time, but everything went pretty smoothly all throughout the year. And then with our ASVABs, we have about 50 students who tested just to see kind of what their career readiness would be. And we're looking to add the possibility of doing 2 ASVABs next year, maybe one in the fall, one in the spring for some of our students. So a big part of what we do, especially in the fall, is processing all different types of applications. So whether it be unofficial transcripts, official transcripts, getting those letters sent, making sure the students have everything in Naviance correctly to make sure everything gets to their college. We had 363 different colleges that our students applied to, which is a lot. We have them spanning pretty much all 50 states. With the amount of transcripts that were sent out specifically by our office, it's well over 3,000. The amount of unofficial transcripts that Mrs. Valentine, our FPC secretary, sent out was well over 400 for students to self-report, give to coaches, anything like that. And then we had almost 4,000 letters of recommendation that were sent. You can see we have teachers who write a lot and send a lot of letters of recommendation. But I also want to give a shout out to our counselors who wrote well over 100 letters of recommendation for their students that were pretty much tailor-made for them to each of their universities as well. So let's jump into a little bit deeper of the class of 2023 with what their plans are going to be at each of their schools or what they plan on doing in the workforce. So we give out a senior survey to every student prior to graduation. We give them about 2 months to give us an idea of what they plan on doing. And we have about 72% of our students who will plan on going to a 4-year college. With that, we saw a little bit of a jump for our students who plan on going to either a 2-year college, community college, or trade school. I will say we have a lot more students who are going into the trades or trade school this upcoming year. And then employment, military, and gap year tend to be about the same percentages wise as well. Now, for those students who plan on going to either a 2-year or a 4-year, this is kind of what the breakdown ended up being in terms of their majors. You know, it's always STEM and business forward with these groups, but I will say we saw about a 5% jump in students who are looking to pursue business. And I will say we had a lot more students who have been taking, you know, our dual enrollment business areas, especially with accounting and principles management. And we have, obviously, it's continuing to grow because now our AP macro has to expand to almost 7 sections. So there is a big jump in students who are looking to pursue business on a lot of different levels. I will say, along with that, undecided has also gone up. You have a lot more students who are interested in more than just one thing. So instead of just trying to pick one thing, they go with the undecided route so they can have the opportunity to try different things before they make a decision of what they'd like to do. And I will say there was a small jump in our trades with the amount of students who were looking to pursue that outside of, you know, their traditional STEM, business, undecided social sciences fields. And, you know, our top 5 tends to be the same. It's, you know, Penn State, Westchester, Pitt, Temple. The only difference from last year is instead of South Carolina, it's the University of Delaware this year. And so we also have some students who plan on going all over the country. So these are students who are at least 7-8 hours plus. I mean, we have kids who are going all the way to California, South Dakota's in here, Texas, where our students have really kind of branched out a little bit more. And that trend will continue, we think, over the next few years, because every time we have a conversation, it's like, where can I get somewhere warm? And then down below, we have some highly selective acceptances. You know, these are schools that are 30% or less acceptance rates. Some of them are in the single digits percentage acceptance rates. And the stars that are indicated there with them are students who plan on enrolling in those schools who will be matriculating in the fall. So a big thing that a lot of people talk about is, well, how much money do these kids earn? It's almost $5 million in merit scholarships for these students. And like I said, we have some great students who came through this past year. And so about $5 million were awarded to these students who, these are just the schools they plan on attending. There's more money that was offered on top of this to any other school that they might have applied to. But as a group of the 400 plus students who plan on going to a 4-year or 2-year, this is kind of what was given out to them, and all of their hard work had kind of shown through that. And then again, we continue with our senior scholarships, and the $120,000 is just offered by our community members. And that's how much is kind of offered through our scholarship night every single year. And, you know, we give out over 100 scholarships, and we can't thank the community enough for helping award these students with all of their hard work. In the month of March, the FPC hosts Career Month, where we have speakers from all over the country. So very different walks of life. And we asked the students, what areas do you want to hear from? Different types of careers that we had here in the Future Planning Center. We had an athletic trainer of the XFL who used to previously work in the NFL. And with the amount of students who were so interested in working in sports, that was a really great speaker for the month. We had a homicide detective. So any student who's thinking criminal justice or law on any level, she came in, she was so engaging with the students and gave them a real picture of what it would be like to enter into that field. We had some people who run their own companies. We had somebody who works at Roku in marketing and lives in New York City. And with the amount of students who talk about living in the big city, this was a great opportunity for students to ask those questions. A lot of the people who also came in were Springford alum, and that's a big thing that we were trying to have come in this year, because they want to hear firsthand for how Springford set them up, not only for their next steps, but maybe what it would look like for their career, because they were the same students, 5, maybe 10 years ago. And then we had a lot of people actually from Springford come and talk about what their jobs are. So we had Jen McVeigh, who is one of our elementary school counselors, who spoke about what it would be like going into counseling. We also had one of our school psychologists come and talk to our students about what a career in psychology could look like for them. And we've had past teachers come talk to them. They're elementary schools, and that's always when the kids get the most excited, is when they can almost revisit that opportunity to talk to their old teachers and what that could look like for them as well. But overall, it was a great year for our students, and we're very excited for this next chapter for them. And we look to see what the class of 2024 has to do.